When you're programming in AL for Business Central, how you handle groups of data is, well, it's absolutely critical. If you want to do anything useful, like manipulate sales orders or calculate inventory, you've got to move beyond just single variables. So in this explainer, we're going to dive right into collections, the essential tools you need to manage data like a pro.
Okay, here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off by understanding why single variables just won't cut it. Then we'll get properly introduced to the three main collection types in AL. After that, we're going to do a deep dive into each one, arrays, lists, and dictionaries, and we'll wrap it all up by learning how to pick the perfect one for whatever task you've got. So first things first, why can't we just use simple variables for everything? I mean, wouldn't that be easier? Well, let's dig into why that whole approach just completely falls apart in the real world of business applications. Just think about a standard sales order in Business Central for a second. It's never just one piece of information, right? You've got multiple lines, and each of those lines has an item, a quantity, a price. A single variable can't hold all that. The thing is, real-world business data always comes in groups. I mean, imagine you need to handle 10 different sales amounts. Sure, you could declare 10 different variables, but what if there are 100 or 1,000? Your code would become an absolute nightmare to read and manage. It's clumsy, it's a pain to maintain, and it absolutely does not scale. And that is where collections come to the rescue. A collection is basically a special kind of variable that's designed to be a container. It holds multiple values all under one single name. They're the clean, super efficient way to handle groups of related data. So, in AL, we get three main types of collections to play with. And they're all fantastic, but they all share one really, really important rule that you have to understand to write good, safe code. Okay, so these are going to be your new best friends. First, you've got the array, which you use for a fixed size group of things. Then there's the list, which is dynamic and can grow or shrink. And finally, the dictionary, which is all about looking things up super fast using a unique key. Now, about that crucial rule I mentioned. All collections in AL are what we call strongly typed. Sounds complicated, but it just means that you can't mix and match data types inside a single collection. And you might think that's a limitation, but it's actually a huge feature that helps make our code predictable and bug-free. So what this means is you can have a list that's full of integers or a list that's full of text, but you can't have a list that has an integer, then some text, then a decimal. By forcing you to do this, AL actually saves you from yourself, catching all sorts of potential errors before your code even gets a chance to run.
All right, let's start with the classic, the array.
You can think of an array like an egg carton. It's got a fixed number of slots, and you decide that number the moment you create it. Each slot, or element, holds one item, and you find each item by its position in the carton. We call that position the index. Okay, listen up because this is a huge deal if you're coming from other programming languages like C# or Java. In AL, the first slot in an array is at index 1, not 0. This is a classic trap for new developers, so burn this into your brain. It will save you hours of pulling your hair out later. So because they're so rigid, arrays are incredibly fast and efficient. They're perfect when you know the exact size of your data beforehand, like, say, storing sales totals for the 12 months of the year. But the second you don't know how many items you'll have, well, an array is the wrong tool for the job.
So what happens when you don't know the size up front? That's the perfect job for our next collection type, the list.
Right, if an array is that rigid egg carton, a list is like a shopping list. It starts empty, and you just keep adding things to it as you go. It's totally dynamic, super flexible, and it grows or shrinks whenever you need it to.
And working with a list is incredibly easy. You just create an empty one, and then you use a built-in function called add to pop new items in, one by one. You might be adding them as a user is entering them, or as you're pulling them from a database. And just like with an array, you get to them using their index, which, yes, also starts at 1.
All right, now let's get to my personal favorite and arguably the most powerful collection for organizing data, the dictionary.
A dictionary completely changes the game. Forget about numeric positions like 1, 2, or 3. With a dictionary, you use a meaningful, unique key. Think a customer number, a country code, a product SKU to instantly find the value associated with it. No more counting positions.
And this is where you really see the magic of dictionaries in Business Central. You can structure complex data in a way that just makes sense. For instance, you could use a country code as your key, and the value could be an entire list of customer names for that country. This makes finding your data insanely fast, and your code becomes so much cleaner and easier to read.
Okay, so we have 3 fantastic tools at our disposal. How in the world do we choose the right one for the job?
This table right here is your cheat sheet. It's simple. Use an array when you know the size and performance is everything. Go for a list when you need flexibility, when your data needs to grow and shrink. And grab a dictionary anytime you need to do fast lookups based on a meaningful piece of data.
Okay, let's wrap this up with a few pro tips to keep in mind. Always start by thinking about your data. How big is it and how do you need to access it? Generally, you should lean towards the flexibility of lists and dictionaries. Only use an array if you have a very specific need for its raw speed. And here's a big one. Try to keep your collections as local variables. It just helps prevent all sorts of weird, unintended changes happening somewhere else in your code.
So let's bring it all home. You now have a really solid grasp of what AL collections are, and you've got a clear framework for choosing between an array, a list, or a dictionary. Getting comfortable with these is without a doubt a giant leap forward in building really powerful and solid apps in Business Central.
But storing data is one thing. The real question is, what do you do with that data once it's in the collection? How do you change it, move it around, and convert it? Well, that's exactly what we're tackling next. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.